Hey, what's up, everybody? Championship Leadership, and today we got Ryan Hawk. He's the host of the Learning Leader Show. That's his podcast, and then he's also got a book coming out anywhere and anywhere you can imagine. Getting a copy of his book, it's going to be there. Welcome to Management: How to Grow from Top Performer to Excellent Leader. That'll be coming out January 28th, so just around the corner. That's exciting, and just excited to have you. So thanks, Ryan, for taking some time today.
I appreciate you having me, Nate. Excited to be here, man.
Absolutely. So let's hop right into it. I love asking this question first. What the name of my podcast, Championship Leadership. So what comes to mind for you, or what does championship leadership mean to you when you hear that?
I think of people, actually. So specific people in my life. First is my mom and dad, I think have been my past, present, and future model for great leadership, and certainly for a loving relationship, which is the most important thing in my life, is the relationship I have with my wife, because we are modeling the proper behavior for our children. So that's what I think of first. Second, I would say that the leaders specifically who have had an impact on my life, outside of my parents, I remember two specific football coaches I had in high school as a skinny little freshman, getting called up to play on the varsity team and help our team win some games as the quarterback of the team. Bob Gregg and Ron Allery are champion leaders in my mind, and certainly got more out of me than I ever thought I was capable of. And I think that's what championship level leaders do, is they're willing and able to push and get more production out of you than you even thought possible, and lift you to levels of performance that previously you have never been to. And so I loved, and I love and look to surround myself from people like them that I've been fortunate to have in my life. And so really then make the most of the good luck that I've been given, which is to be surrounded by great parents, as well as great coaches. And certainly some of the bosses I've had along the way have done that for me as well.
Yeah. Hey, I love that. That's I always hear a different answer to this question, and it's just fun to hear all of these different definitions. You bring up football. Are you any relation to AJ Hawk?
He's my brother.
He is. All right. So I had no idea, but I just put two and two together there with the last name and football. And I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I'm a Packer fan.
Oh, cool.
So
nice. Very cool.
anyway,
We spent a lot of time in Wisconsin, 9 really good years.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin, going to games, as well as just spending time there in general.
I can imagine. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the book and your path to, this journey that you're on that's brought you to the Learning Leader Show. You're 300 plus episodes in. So, dedication, like commitment, those are all characteristics I think of inside of great leaders, of course, and just experience learning along the way, adapting and continuing to change and update. And then into this book, like, what's the genesis of that with this path and the journey that you've been on?
Yeah, so I vividly remember the moment when I was promoted from individual contributor to manager for the first time early in my career, 26, going on 27 years old. And I didn't fully appreciate and understand what it meant to now be a person who had direct reports reporting to them, to be a boss of people on an organizational chart. And so when I thought about what would the topic be of my first book, it would be I want to write the book that I wish I had when I got initially promoted. And so that's why it's Welcome to Management, because we have welcome to management moments all the time when you get that first promotion. It's the biggest leap in your career. And so that's an important area for me to focus on. There are unfortunately a number of bosses out there who are overwhelmed. They're put in sink or swim situations, and they sink, they struggle. And I think it's a lot of times it's because they don't have enough support or training or guidance or any type of manual to help them. I did a lot of informal research leading up to this book, and even managers at fantastic companies throughout the world were not properly trained when they made that initial leap. And so my book is my effort to fill that gap, to help create great bosses at the very beginning of their leadership career before it's too late. And so that's why I decided to focus for this first one on that specific area. And there is a lot there. So it's a combination of my experiences as a football player, my experiences in the corporate world, as well as then what I've learned through the course of from great mentors in real life, as well as the mentors I've been fortunate to speak with on my podcast, The Learning Leader Show, over the past 5 years. So all of that put into one, and now it's in the form of a book that's coming out soon to be read or listened to by people for all over the world.
Yeah, thank you. And where did the Learning Leader Show come from? What made you start that process and start that journey?
Well, my favorite leaders in my life, the ones who I found to be most effective, were ones who are on this journey of constantly striving to improve and expand their knowledge base. So they were regularly learning. So learning and leader came together because I love learning leaders. I love leaders who are putting themselves in positions to get better on a daily basis. So that's the genesis of the name. If you'd like, I can share the story about why I started a podcast, but that's a little bit longer story. So I'm not sure how you want to steer the ship here.
Yeah, please do. I think we love hearing the stories in the background of why you started it and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. So I was, I got my MBA after I got done playing football when I was working.
Where'd you play?
I played football at Ohio University, and then I played in the Arena Football League after college.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I got my MBA. It took me 6 years. And my company was giving me $5,250 a year, which is what most corporate America companies give for educational reimbursement every year.
Yeah.
And so once I finished getting my MBA, I thought I should go back to school because it was a waste to not use that money as I had been doing for the 6 previous years, getting my MBA while working full time. And so I looked at applying for a PhD programs across the country to look at how to continue my learning. At the same time, I happened to have a dinner set up with Todd Wagner. Todd Wagner is Mark Cuban's business partner. They started broadcast.com together and eventually sold it, and they both made billions from that sale. And Mark went on to buy the Mavericks and be on Shark Tank, and Todd went on to more philanthropic areas of life. But anyway, I had a dinner set up with him, and we both got to dinner early. We were at a hotel, and I was fortunate enough to learn from him one-on-one for about 45 minutes about the details of starting the business and the tough moments they went through, all ultimately up until when they sat across from the leaders at Yahoo and sold it for $5.7 billion. And I just love learning in the one-on-one, deep, long-form conversation style as opposed to the classroom style where I just earned my MBA. So instead of getting my PhD, I decided to create my own form of leadership PhD program, do it in the form of a podcast so that I would create some sort of platform that may attract people to want to come and talk to me, these high-level successful leaders who are busy, create a platform to facilitate those conversations. And in addition to that, if it went well, other people could learn along with me. And so I learned a lot about podcasting. I was a podcast fan, listening to Joe Rogan and others for years. Yeah. And so that's when I decided to launch my show. And so I recorded a number of episodes and then launched about 5 years ago, 350 episodes plus. And here we are. And it's led to a lot of really cool relationships and opportunities because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, talk about some of the things, as a championship leadership, obviously, leadership is near and dear to me in my heart, in my life. And I've come across many different great leaders, whether it was through football like yourself or the military and just all the other experiences that I've had. And then now, as a result of the show, is just getting to meet people like yourself that are great championship leaders in all walks of life as well. So maybe you could talk and share just a little bit about some of the things that you've taken away from the amazing people and leaders that you've learned or had an opportunity to have on the show.
So some of the things I've learned from them, or
yeah.
How much time do we have?
Well, I mean, I know there's a lot, right? But maybe what I'm finding is there's a lot of common themes, right? So I don't know, maybe it's that or maybe whatever is present.
So I think some of the commonalities I've picked up over the years, I guess I'll go with 2 right now, is that what I found is that the leaders who are sustaining excellence over an extended period of time are one, incredibly thoughtful about what they do on a regular basis, what they read, who they surround themselves with, their boss, their business partners, their clients. They're very thoughtful about that. They're also reflective in that regard, where they'll regularly take moments to reflect and understand on what they've learned, on what they've done, on the people in their life. In addition to that, you take it a step further, they are incredibly intentional with their behavior based on being reflective and thoughtful. So they don't haphazardly just wander about life. They are intentional with their actions and the decisions that they make each and every day. And that consistently done over time, being thoughtful and intentional, leads them to increase their odds of sustaining excellence in whatever it is that they're doing. I interview people in all walks of life, CEOs of billion-dollar companies, Navy SEALs, professional athletes, best-selling authors, what have you. And I think that seems to be a commonality among the ones who are sustaining excellence.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And, talk to me a little bit about, you touched on Learning Leaders is the name of your show, and great leaders that are constantly learning. And in my mind goes again to football is like, you think of the best of the best as far as coaches go, like Nick Saban or Bill Belichick comes to mind, right? These are guys that at the top, at the pinnacle of their level, continue to find a way to almost make it look easy. And you know that it's not easy, and you have personal experience through that, right? Through your brother playing professionally in the NFL, and just how hard it is, and the elite level of all the coaches there. Yet there's this handful of people out there that have this incredible vision. They're always learning from others. They never think that they have it all figured out, and they're constantly growing and expanding. And also, I think they're able to see something that others aren't able to see, and not just that, but they're also willing to go and to execute on that quickly, and to be a little bit unique, or maybe a lot of bit unique at times. What's the vision for you inside of what you got going on and what you're doing? You got the book, you got the podcast. Yeah, where are you going in the next 5 years?
I don't know necessarily the next 5 years. I think 5 years is a long time. I would have never been able to predict what happened over the past 5 years. I would say, though, what I've found to be something that's come up regularly is people are searching and seeking out community of others who are growth oriented in their mindset. And so that's been a pleasant surprise to me as I've developed what we call learning leader circles. And within these leadership circles, they're essentially paid mastermind groups where we meet on a regular basis. And at the beginning of doing this, I would have never envisioned that would be part of my business, but it is now a significant part of my business, in addition to regular, speaking on stage about 40 to 50 times a year, and now hosting and leading multiple leadership circles. Those are the two core primary parts of what I do on a daily basis, in addition to recording podcasts. And so I think that, again, is a pleasant surprise that people are seeking out community. They're seeking out others with a similar mindset to be around, not people just like them, but people with similar mindsets. And perhaps they're not necessarily finding this where they are from a working perspective. And so I try to be an avenue to help connect people who have that mindset together. And that's been really gratifying and fun work.
Yeah. So how did that come about for you? Was it literally just people reaching out to you? Was it just an idea through conversation that came about, or what was the process?
Really both, actually. So combination of conversations with mentors and leaders in my life who were kind of throwing ideas out at me. What if you started connecting people who were emailing you about the show, who were wanting more, who wanted to meet other people who were connecting with the show like they were? So then we created programs and curriculum so that I could teach and facilitate that happening on a regular basis. We meet via Zoom, just like you and I are here, have those conversations on a regular basis, and then meet in person one time per year. And people fly in from all over the world as part of those meetings. And that, again, is really cool to bring people together from all different perspectives, places in their lives, positions, titles, companies, industries. It's industry and title agnostic. It doesn't matter. It's really more of how they think, their mindset. Are they curious? Do they want to be around people like that? And if so, then we've created a space to help make that happen.
And is that something that you are doing on your own, or do you have some other partners, coaches, teams that help facilitate those? And
yeah, so I've started them with support from business partners who have been supported me and helped me as I left corporate America. Doug Meyer, one of them, and now I've hired a full-time team member to work with me, Lizzie Merritt, who was a member of a previous leadership circle, who our relationship started just out of a cold email 4 years ago of her being interested in the show. And that's why I'm always an advocate for people. If you're listening to something or someone, or if you're reading their work, reach out to them, tell them that that their work has helped you, and tell them specifically why. You never know what could happen. You never know what type of relationship you could be building. So take that time to stop, reflect, think, and then intentionally write an email, or if you can find another way to get a hold of that person, do it. The people who are producing content like you and me are, I think we feed off of that type of behaviors of other people, letting us know specifically how we've helped them. And that is certainly fuel for me to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. What's a turning point for you inside of your life? Like a critical moment where, I think we all have these moments, and maybe if there's one or two that just comes present to mind of you, where it could have been very easy to go maybe left, but at the fork in the road, you decided to go right, maybe the unpopular path, the road less traveled that has you where you are today. But, had you not made that decision or had the courage to do that, you could be very, very well could be in a different place in life than you are right now. Is there a moment that comes to mind for you?
Sure. I originally out of high school, I went to Miami University. Again, I played quarterback in high school. I just so happened to be the exact same age and play the exact same position as Ben Roethlisberger. So we decided to go to school, to the same school at the same time.
Yeah.
And
lucky you.
And so we had, it actually is, and I can share why. So we had two really tough years competing on a daily basis in everything that we did. Ultimately, if anyone who watches football is listening, they know how that story ended. But Ben ultimately, after 2 hard seasons, won that starting quarterback job at Miami, and I was in a really tough position of deciding. My coach offered me the ability to move to receiver and compete for a starting position there, or be the backup quarterback behind Ben and play if he got hurt. And I did not like either of those options. And so I still, though, love the school and love my teammates. It's one of the best places in the world to go to school. Beautiful campus, beautiful people, great academics, everything about it. And I really did not want to leave. However, my priority list, number one, was being a Division I starting quarterback, and that was not going to happen at Miami unless Ben got hurt. And as we all know, prior to this year, Ben never gets hurt.
Yeah, right.
And so I elected to transfer and go to Ohio University and then compete to be the starting quarterback there. And I think that was a tougher choice. I was very comfortable at Miami. Again, I love the people there. I did not want to leave them. I wanted to graduate from that school. And yet I left it because I realized there were more important things at that time in my life, and that was becoming the starting quarterback. And so with the help of my dad, my younger brother, my high school coach, I was able to transfer on scholarship and go to Ohio University and start there for a few years. So it's certainly the biggest turning point in my life, because I've never been in as competitive as an environment as it was competing against the greatest athlete in the history of a school for 2 years. And I say it's lucky because I don't know many people who have been in that position where they got to compete against the greatest athlete in the history of a school for 2 full years and test themselves against the best. Yeah, and right. that being in that competitive situation lifted me to levels that were really high and certainly stressful. But as I left college, it's made me better. I can draw from that experience of stress and being side by side and sitting next to someone who's world class at their craft every day for 2 years. Not many people get to do that. So I'm fortunate to be able to draw from that in everything that I do. And I think it's certainly helped make me better in just about everything that I choose to do.
Yeah, well, maybe talk a little bit more about that because, sometimes I think we don't realize like the gifts and the lessons that we're really getting until much later down in life when we maybe mature a little bit, have more experience. But I guess it's maybe two questions. Number one, were you able to kind of recognize like the opportunity that was there, which I think might have been challenging, especially being a young guy that wants to play and is competitive and wants to win the job, because Ben Roethlisberger wasn't Ben Roethlisberger yet, right? And then also through that, like maybe what are some of the greater lessons that you really have taken from that experience today that you do put into your life?
Well, I think sometimes what I learned is sometimes you can put everything you have into something and it still won't be enough.
Yeah, that's
life. That's life. Yeah. So whenever you hear a child say like, that isn't fair, well, I mean, I guess I could say that, but that's just not reality. That's not the way the world works. And right. So it's good to learn that lesson in your formative years the hard way without your parents around. My parents were at home. I was in college. Yeah. On a daily basis, I couldn't cry to them. That wasn't going to do me any good. And so I was forced to deal with losing and rejection and kind of the realization, have you ever like given everything you've had and yet the other person, in this case, because I was competing to be the starting quarterback and there's only one can play, mm-hmm. You give everything you've got, yet you realize, oh my goodness, like him at 90% is better than me at 100. And that is a tough pill to swallow. Yeah. And that's just the facts. And I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to think that was true. And I was in denial. And until Coach, late great Terry Hepner, sat us down, and I remember on the sideline against University of Iowa, we were rotating, we were playing, and both of us got banged up in that game. And he sat us down and said, "That's it. Ben's the guy. Ryan, you're gonna be the backup, and I can't afford to be playing both of you guys because you could both get hurt in the same game. And then we're on to our third stringer, and we're not going to do that." And I remember, like what a pivotal moment in my life to think about, like, oh my goodness, I was crushed. And again, as a 19, 20-year-old kid, what a great experience to go through now looking back, to draw from as tough moments arise, because adversity will inevitably strike, and it's all about how we choose to respond. And I was left with a choice in that moment of how to respond: quit, just kind of chill out like a lot of backup quarterbacks do, or say, I'm going to figure this out. And again, with the help of a good support group, family and coaches, I was able to make a change and learn from it and then achieve my goal of being a Division I starting quarterback.
Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. That is important, right? To have that right team around you in those moments, because we probably both know from college similar guys in similar situations where they did lose that job, and there's a handful of times I can think of where the guy did quit. He left the team because he was mad and upset, and I'm sure it's something that he looks back on, to this day with some regret. The importance of just surrounding yourself with the right people, put the right people on the team, figure out like what their strengths are, get them in the right position so that you can all, win that championship.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. What are one or two things that you could leave with the listeners here that they could take and really just put into their life, implement today to help move themselves forward? Maybe, some guiding principles that you live by.
I think, what I've gathered over doing so many interviews with people is that some of the most impressive leaders have built frameworks for how they live and how they make decisions. And I thought of a framework for me to live and make decisions based on what I've learned. And really it's 4 parts. And this is like what equates to a good day. And so I think if I'm somebody listening, maybe you think of how could I create this for myself? But really on a daily basis, I want to first have I want to be a consumer of useful information, be very particular about what I read, what I watch, who I talk to. So I want to consume. That's my intake engine. Second, I think it's important to not just be a learner, but to be a doer. So experiment with what you've learned, put some of those learnings into play, into practice. Third, I think we need to take a step back and reflect and analyze what we've learned and what we've experimented with to see what works, what we should continue to do, and then what we should stop doing. And then fourth, and very important, in my case, the best form of learning has been putting it into action. So it's been doing. So what are you actually doing in order to make it happen? And so for me, just thinking about that has been very helpful when it comes to leading and having a framework for making decisions.
Yeah, thank you. That's something that you can definitely take and put into play for yourself as you're listening to this as well right now. And I can't agree more to continue to grow and expand and consume knowledge, but just not consuming it, right? Like doing something about it, implementing it and putting it into play, like, and not waiting around. So thank you so much for sharing that. What are a few ways that we can find more about you with the Learning Leader Show, as well as the book that you got coming out here in January, end of January?
Absolutely. Learningleader.com. Everything is there, as well as if you're listening on your phone, you can text learners to 44222. And texting learners to 44222 will get you in contact with me directly, and you can get information on everything, and it's pretty quick and easy.
Great. Appreciate it. We'll get that linked up inside of the show notes as well. And again, I just thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Nate.
Thanks, Ron. Bye.